What is going on, you guys? Alex Chasen back here with a brand new video, and today let's talk about Jimmy Butler, the Miami Heat, and the Brooklyn Nets. Yes, you heard me right. We are going to be talking about the worst team in the entire NBA this coming season, the Brooklyn Nets. And here's why. Earlier this week, there was a New York Post article written by Bob Windrum, and it said Jimmy Butler has serious interest in the Brooklyn Nets for when he's an unrestricted free agent next summer. And the quote goes, Jimmy Butler's interest in the Brooklyn Nets is very, very real. Let me read that again. Jimmy Butler's interest in the Brooklyn Nets is very, very real. Part of it is New York. Part of it is that it's Bernie Lee, who is Ben Simmons' agent, and he was very happy with how his client has been dealt with in Brooklyn. You're probably wondering what's Ben Simmons and Bernie Lee have to do with Jimmy Butler. Well, they're all part of the same agency. And that is part of the reason why Jimmy Butler has interest in the Brooklyn Nets. Well, I'm just going to start the video off with this. This is complete BS. It's complete BS. I'm sure Jimmy Butler has told the New York Post this. I'm sure he spoke to Bob Windrum, or I'm sure Jimmy Butler's agent spoke to Bob Windrum, whatever the case was, or I'm sure Jimmy Butler's agent talked to the Brooklyn Nets. Whatever it was, I believe it is a real source, and I believe it is real that Jimmy Butler has interest in the Brooklyn Nets, but it's not real interest. It's to pull Pat Riley and the Miami Heat to give Jimmy Butler the contract he wants. It's that simple. I'm not going to delay the inevitable of this video. I'm not going to sit here and go through a bunch of clickbaited topics that I've seen so far on the internet. I'm going to go straight to the point. This is a ploy by Jimmy Butler to get what he wants out of Pat Riley and the Miami Heat. What does Jimmy Butler want? He wants that 2-year max extension. It will be his last max extension of 2 years, $113 million. That's what Jimmy Butler wants. He wants his final max contract, and he most likely wants to stay with the Miami Heat. But the reason why he has pointed his interest at the Brooklyn Nets is because projected next summer in 2025, who has the most cap space in the NBA? Who can throw the biggest contract next summer? It's the Brooklyn Nets. So theoretically, the Brooklyn Nets, if Jimmy Butler was all about the money, Brooklyn would be the place to go. But why would a 35-year-old right now, next season, would be a 36-year-old Jimmy Butler? Why would he want to go to a team that is going to be 30th out of all 30 teams? He doesn't. This team right here, the Brooklyn Nets, they are in play for Cooper Flagg. They are in play for that number 1 overall pick. They're going to trade off Cam Johnson this year. They're going to trade off Dennis Schroeder. They're going to try to move Bogdanovich. They want to get rid of Ben Simmons. This is not a team where Jimmy Butler would want to go. So I'm going to just end that conversation right now. The only way, and it's so slim, I can see Jimmy Butler actually suiting up and signing with the Brooklyn Nets, would be this. They land the number 1 overall pick. They draft Cooper Flagg. They just throw a bag at Jimmy Butler. Pat Riley and the Heat ultimately don't give Jimmy Butler what he wants. I guess that's what it comes down to. Pat Riley and the Heat ultimately just don't give him the money he wants. He's an unrestricted free agent next summer. The Heat don't give him anything. The Nets draft Cooper Flagg. Jimmy's like, you know what? Let's try it. That's the only way I can see him actually going there. If Jimmy Butler is all about the money, the Brooklyn Nets can throw the most money. The Brooklyn Nets also get Cooper Flagg, who everyone thinks will come into the league and be just like Victor Wembanyama, be basically flawless and just start off as a star right away. That's the only way I could see Jimmy Butler actually having interest in Brooklyn. But where is this stemming from? Well, it's stemming from going back to May. Pat Riley said in his closing interview after they got, bounced out of the first round by the Boston Celtics in this year's playoffs, he said, when asked about Jimmy Butler's contract situation, that's a big decision on our part to commit those kind of resources unless you have somebody who's going to be there and available every single night. Riley said, that's the truth. Those are strong words by Pat Riley. He's never been afraid to call someone out. He's never been afraid, to ruffle some feathers. And he did that right there. And what happened this summer? Jimmy Butler did not get his extension, and he's going to be on an expiring deal this season, which means one thing. Jimmy Butler is going to ball out if he's capable of it. That's really the thing, is he's still capable of it. Because if you look at last year, It was Jimmy Butler's worst year in Miami. No All-Star appearance, no All-NBA team. Now, statistically, you look at his numbers, and it wasn't a huge drop-off to what he was providing in his prior years in Miami. He was never, a 25-point-per-game scorer for the Heat. He was always hovering around, 20, 23 points per game. But his overall game did take a dip with the eye test. And he was off the court when it mattered in the playoffs. Pat Riley, that pisses him off more than any other president of basketball in the entire NBA. Pat Riley cares about what you did right now, not what you did last season. Even though they made it to the finals last year, 2 years ago. Now I guess they made it to the finals 2 years ago, or they made it to the bubble finals. He doesn't care. He's all about the right now. And Jimmy Butler, in my opinion, his best chance of winning something, even if it's just getting, consistently into the playoffs, it's going to be with the Miami Heat. Because if you look at all the teams with the most cap space next summer, it's Brooklyn, it's the Washington Wizards, it's San Antonio Spurs, and then you have the Houston Rockets. That wasn't in order. I was just, I know Brooklyn is number one. The rest I was just naming off. I have a list in front of me. The Houston Rockets would be interesting because I think they are one star away from being a true deep playoff, maybe Western Conference Finals championship contending team. But a 36-year-old, 35-year-old Jimmy Butler, 37-year-old Jimmy Butler, that's not the guy you're looking for in Houston. I think you can just do in-house growth and you'd be just as good in my opinion. Brooklyn, we already talked about. The Washington Wizards, they're also going to be right there with the Brooklyn Nets this year as well. I think they're a little bit better because they just have a little bit more overall pieces than the Brooklyn Nets, but they're still not going to be anything great. And then you have the Spurs. Does Jimmy Butler look at Victor Wembanyama and be like, I want to team up with him? Maybe, but at the end of the day, teams with cap space that can afford Jimmy Butler, they're not really desirable for an older guy in this league who probably wants to win. His best bet is to either take a really small contract and go to a more contending team, like, maybe is that the Thunder. That could be a team that could afford a smaller contract for Jimmy Butler. They can't afford the max, but they could definitely, throw some more money than other teams because they still have guys on rookie deals. Is that an option for Jimmy? Or does he really just want his money? And that's why I think he's, using Brooklyn as a pawn to get that money from the Miami Heat. I really think that's what it is. He wants to stay in Miami. He wants to stay in South Beach. He's using Brooklyn as a pawn because they have the most cap space in the league. And let's just wait a few months. He might have interest in the Houston Rockets. He might have interest in the Washington Wizards because they can throw that money at Jimmy Butler. But at the end of the day, I believe he wants to stay in Miami. He wants to stay on the Heat. And he just wants to finish his career in Miami because that's his best bet to stay competitive. Miami at this point, I don't think they're a championship team, especially with where Jimmy Butler is in his career. But we're going to have to see how things play out. But another key point here before I close this video is if Jimmy Butler doesn't play like he's on an expiring contract, he doesn't put his heart into this game and doesn't play 65-plus games. And let me just say this as a quick fact, he has not played 65-plus games once in his Miami Heat career. And he's been there for a minute, and they've had some success, a good amount of success. I mean, it's not very often you make it to the finals 2 years in your entire career. I know they didn't win it, but he's made it twice in his entire career that cannot be forgotten. He's had success there, just obviously not the pinnacle. But yeah, Jimmy Butler has to play a ton of games this year. He has to put his all into this season, and they have to be relatively good. I think at this point in the game, Bam Adebayo is the proven number one guy on this team. But when it comes to offense and who is going to carry them at the end of the game to get needed buckets, that's not going to be Bam. That's not his game. That has to be Jimmy Butler. And we have to see that from him. We have to see that old Jimmy Butler all year for Pat Riley, in my opinion, to be okay giving an aging veteran that much money. And I don't think Jimmy's scared because at the end of the day, we just saw what happened with Paul George, an aging veteran, injury-prone veteran, just got a max deal with the 76ers. Jimmy Butler is going to want his money. And if it's not in Miami, I think, he might go somewhere else. But again, he's using Brooklyn right now as a pawn. But if it comes to it, he might end up going to a team he doesn't want to go to if he's really all about the money. So this season is going to tell us a ton about Jimmy Butler. It's questions I can't answer right now. But to close this video and to summarize everything, Jimmy is using Brooklyn as a pawn. I believe Jimmy really wants to stay in Miami. That's his best bet to win and also get his money. So to get his money and his best bet to win, it's in Miami. But if Pat Riley doesn't budge, Jimmy doesn't provide what Pat Riley is looking for this season, he might be going somewhere next offseason, or they might even trade him. They might even trade him at the deadline so they get value back, because you cannot just let someone like Jimmy Butler walk for free. We saw it happen with the Clippers. We saw it happen with DeMar DeRozan. That type of caliber player, you can't just let them walk for free, because it just puts your franchise in a really awkward position. So, a lot of questions with Jimmy Butler. They will be answered as the months, if not weeks, go on. More to come on my end with different information and my opinion on the whole Jimmy Butler situation. But anyways, let me know what you're thinking down in the comments below. Do you believe Jimmy Butler genuinely has interest in Brooklyn, or is he just using them as a pawn to get his money from Pat Riley and the Miami Heat? Because if Pat Riley and the Heat have no pressure, why would they budge in giving him that much money? They have to feel the heat. No pun intended. They have to feel the heat from other teams thinking that they really are going to pay Jimmy Butler for them to pay Jimmy Butler what he wants. So anyways, hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. I'll be back very soon. And like always, peace out.